You know, they're selling y'all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
Eu dei nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, you deu nothing. You deu fucking nothing. Now what is you deu nothing?
I'll tell you what, bro. You know, I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I am gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, you know, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Nick Diaz, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of Mixed Combat Radio, live on YouTube, obviously a podcast from iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, listen on iTunes, drop that 5-star review, head over to patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio to help support the channel in any financial way, plus get hours and hours of extra content for just a very low price of $1 per month. I am Matt, the Hipster Hunter, and obviously we're going to be discussing all things MMA, UFC related on today's show. We haven't done a show in a while, Foo, so we're going to talk about a lot here, a lot of catch up. UFC 235 review, UFC Wichita review, obviously UFC London, looking forward to this weekend preview, and plus a ton of news and topics to delve into from the last couple of weeks. Foo, I think we've been off for a little bit too long when it comes to MMA content, but that's obviously our faults. Sorry to our listeners. But anyways, we're back here in the booth, fire in the booth, as they say. And Foo, the Chewbacca to my Luke Skywalker. We're obviously missing Han Solo. Shout out to Rob. He's sleeping over there in the UK right now. But Foo, how are you doing tonight over there in Texas? And obviously, what do you think about all the stuff we have to talk about today? I mean, Jon Jones, Kamaru Usman, Ben Askren, Junior Dos Santos, Darren Till, Masvidal this weekend, Conor McGregor getting into some legal troubles. The very, very unfortunate news that's coming out from about Tony Ferguson that I really regret that we're going to have to talk about. Plus a ton of fight announcements. So, Foo, how are you doing? And you ready for a very long, jam-packed show full of information and topics?
Yes, sir. Very ready to get into this. Especially after the boxing news today, it's going to be fun to talk about a sport where, while it has its issues, the best do typically end up fighting the best. So I'm very excited for that. Breaking down 235. Sorry, guys, that we haven't done this sooner. It's definitely my fault. My work schedule has been fucking hectic. So I apologize. I'm going to try to make sure we get these shows to you guys quicker.
I think what we're just going to plan to do now is just at least plan. Very key word there. Plan to do these MMA shows early in the week. So I'm thinking that's how we do. We do like a Monday, Tuesday show. And it's probably going to be a weekly MMA show. Just being honest to the listeners here. Like, until these shows do better numbers, it's hard to, to put down our boxing shows that do far greater in terms of ratings and numbers, both on podcast and on YouTube. So right now, this is sort of a weekly show. But yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking to sort of address that issue, Fu. I know that we both have just weird schedules. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest, that's probably when this MMA weekly show will be. And it's going to be jam-packed probably every week because that is MMA. But like you said, sorry this is taking a long time to get this UFC 235 review, but God, it's worth it. Let's get into it, Fu.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Jon Jones. It was a really fun card. Even with the two, title fights, the main event and the co-main event not being the most entertaining in a way. Definitely being one-way traffic for both fights, and real grappling heavy fights as well. That's always, I think, a little bit hard for the casual fan. But the rest of the card was absolutely dynamic. We're not going to delve into all of the fights, but we're going to have to delve into a lot here because there is this card was stacked. This is honestly the best card of the year in combat sports, I would say. Like, top to bottom, there's very interesting fights we're going to delve into. So let's start with the main event. Jon Jones versus Anthony Smith in a very clear-cut decision. I thought Jon Jones probably won every round, I'll be honest. I think he was just too technical, too smart. I think he bullied Anthony Smith. Obviously, he had the 2-point deduction for the illegal knee. I think it was in the 4th round.
I think, yeah.
But other than that, I mean, Jon Jones had his way with him. And this was also very reminiscent of like the OSP fight. And I don't know if that's indicative of Jon Jones fighting to the level of his competition. Whether that is Jon Jones having issues with guys that are rather fast, dynamic, who have a rather fast, dynamic KO ability. OSP was like that. Anthony Smith has sort of built a reputation as that. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know why as to why Jon Jones seemed to not take it easy on Anthony Smith. I think that's the wrong sort of term to use, but he definitely never went out of second gear in this fight.
One moment he did. It was in the 3rd. He put the pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
And then when he figured he couldn't get him out, it's like he went back to relax mode. Like, I'll win this fight on the cards, no problem. Let me just chill out.
And I fundamentally have no issue with that. Like, he's had a great, it's Jon Jones. His career has been dominant thus far. A dominant win against Anthony Smith is not going to be a big concern. It's not like, oh no, Jon Jones is fading. No, it's something like that. But it just was a kind of by round 3, 4, it's like, okay, come on, Jon, get him out of there. And he didn't. And that was a little bit, again, gave it a little bit of an unentertaining factor to the fight. But Jon Jones was absolutely perfect in this performance against an opponent that was just severely outmatched. We knew that coming into it. It was obvious coming out of it. What is next for Jon Jones? I feel like that should be a pretty obvious question, because it seems like we're going to talk about Johnny Walker later in this card. Obviously Dominic Reyes coming up this weekend. There are a couple names in the light heavyweight division that you could throw in there, like an Anthony Smith, that are overmatched. But they have worked themselves into a contendership status. It is just the way of the division. You have to fight the next best man up, and that may be what we have. Or does Jon Jones just say, look, it's not worth it, and finally make that move to heavyweight? Fu, I want sort of your thoughts on what's next for Jon Jones after this, honestly, a tune-up fight.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much was a tune-up fight, right? I'm not mad at him, like you said. I mean, he's literally like, what, his 4 fights before that were 2 Gustafsson fights, Cormier, and 2 Cormier fights, and then another fucking tough fight. I think that was Oven St. Pierre, right?
Yes.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
St. Preux.
Sorry. I'm not upset. I hope he goes to heavyweight. I think, especially like we're going to get to the Wichita card. Dos Santos looked like his stand-up game looked really good. Cardio was really good. So there's going to be some people that I think he can really have some fun fights against. And then obviously the Cormier fight's there, right? So, and it doesn't, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't look like Brock's coming back anytime soon. He's getting that mad WWE money or whatever. So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, with Jon Jones, heavyweight, there's so many fun options up there. Like Junior Santos is a fun fight. Alistair Overeem, Francis Ngannou, Daniel Cormier, Stipe Miocic. All those matchups seem fresh, fun, interesting, dynamic. Again, Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker versus Jon Jones just doesn't do it for me. And honestly, it might be good for this division to sort of take a sort of 2-year absence from a champion in a sense, like rebuild the roster in a way, find a bunch of young talent. Like, I think that is a higher priority for that division right now at 205 than Jon Jones just facing the next guy up, regardless of them really being ready. I mean, Dominic Reyes, again, who we're going to talk about later in the show, he's like 10-0. Like these guys need time.
Yeah.
And I think it might be better served for the division if Jon Jones was just to move up. But regardless, I think just because, again, this is a tune-up fight, not much to talk about. It was pretty one-sided.
There was something I wanted to bring up with you. In the third round, you remember there was a moment where Jones had, went for the takedown. Smith was kind of on all fours, trying to, stuff the takedown. And Jones had him where it looked like, he could have went for a guillotine, but he didn't. And then he just kind of stayed there, played it very safe. You remember when GSP used to have people in that? Then he would flip real quick and take their back.
Mm-hmm.
Like he would completely slide around them. I would like to see Jones work on that. Because I think he could have probably taken him out at that point. But he didn't go for that maneuver, and that's where GSP was really always, that's where he would dominate people.
Not necessarily. I would disagree with that assessment. I think GSP's grappling game is actually very similar to Jon Jones. If anything, Jon Jones is by far the more dynamic grappler. By far the more dynamic grappler of the two.
Yeah, this is the only thing that I'm saying is I think he had an opportunity there where he could have just slid kind of right over the top and taken his back. He didn't go for it.
I can't speak for that specific situation because I don't remember it. I would need to see is Anthony Smith against the cage, because that changes the equation. Fighters often won't take the back if their opponent is pressed up against the cage, because you can't get that final underhook in on the cage side. The cage is literally a defense against that. Also, I just need to see that scenario play out. But overall, generally speaking, Jon Jones is the more dynamic grappler of the two, I would say, of him and Georges St-Pierre. Georges St-Pierre was far more dominant when it came to top position grappling, top control. Georges St-Pierre was much more efficient at once he got you to the ground, it was very hard to get back up. He would get to side control, maybe half guard. He would really, I think, control positions control the fight out of those positions. While Jon Jones, he's more looking for the submissions. He's more looking for chokes. He's looking for Kimura. He's looking for guillotines. He's looking for Darce chokes. Meanwhile, he's setting up far more vicious ground and pound than GSP was, in my opinion. I guarantee you I'm going to have an Anthony Walker or a Jason Burgos hit me up after the show, maybe tomorrow or something like that, when they finally listen to it, and go, no, you're tripping. GSP, the GOAT. And I'm like, no, guys, come on. Jon Jones is better. But I think, generally speaking, Jon Jones is the more dynamic grappler. It's not, again, there's nothing he needs to work on. I think this is far more indicative of I'm in cruise control. It's a tune-up. I had a big fight 2 months ago in December with Alexander Gustafsson. This is a cherry on top in a way. And I also think there is not a level of concern, but it's like with Rampage Jackson, for example, when he feels like, hey, if I start to up the tempo and I lose control of the fight, I give that person a lot of potential, a lot of opportunities to land their power shot. And they have a significant power shot. If you look at sort of the fighters that gave him trouble, that they sort of had that. They had an element of risk to them. Where Jon Jones, you could tell, was, no, I'm going to keep the fight in control, and I'll win. I don't want to, go into a 4 or 5 punch combination or just a strike combination, and all of a sudden things switch on me pretty fast. OSP could do that. Anthony Smith could do that. Rampage Jackson could do that.
Yeah.
Rashad Evans could do that. Certain people, Daniel Cormier, if you look at sort of historically the guys that have given him the most trouble, they have that. I think that's more of why you see maybe Jon Jones not going and taking the back as quickly, not setting up 3 or 4 punch or striking combinations and going for 1s and 2s because the control factor and not allowing a dynamic athletic talent to have that dynamic ability or moment to hurt him. I think that's more of what it is.
Yeah, I think you're right. Overall, I think he is just 100% focused on controlling the entire fight. And if something looks like it could be even a 50-50 shot, it's like, no, I'm not going to take that.
Yes.
I'll just get back up on my feet, let this guy get back up. I know I can control the range. I can win the fight this way. It's very easy for me, right?
Yeah.
That's a good assessment.
It's a risk-adverse style, and I think Jon Jones historically has been a risk-adverse fighter. He has obviously had a reputation as this, like, he's going to do spinning back elbow moves that we've never seen before, right? Like, he's a dynamic athlete with really special techniques, but he's also never really throwing them where he's not in control, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
For example, like guys like Robbie Lawler, Jeremy Stevens, for example, certain guys, they will throw their patented special techniques, right? But they're going to throw them in the firefight where they're not in control. And that is always leaving yourself up to a very big, you're opening up to a very big window for that counter. And look at Cody Garbrandt, who we're going to talk about coming up, right? He is the perfect example of what I'm talking about, right? Fantastic boxer, but he does not understand that he needs to be in control to apply his technique. He will sacrifice control for that moment, for that special right hand, and look what it does for him. Jon Jones doesn't do that. I think that's sort of what we have more than a technical issue or that he needs to work on.
Yeah, I probably said that wrong, and that's I don't know shit. So Jon Jones is way better than me. I don't think I meant work on in that sense, but it's something I would have liked to see because when you watch GSP does it, it's so flashy and it just so badass to watch him like with that one movement just put himself in perfect position to like submit someone.
What fight are you referring to? I'm curious.
He's had a bunch of these fights. So
no, I know. Mention one.
Oh my God, let me go back to.
You want to pull up? I know I'm putting you on the spot here. I deeply apologize.
I've watched so much shit in the last few days, but in the last couple of weeks. Let me see. GSP.
I'm pulling up his resume right now. Relax.
It definitely wasn't Lyoto Machida because.
Well, GSP didn't even fight Machida. You talking about Jon Jones?
Not Machida. I mean, I'm talking who.
Where is?
Why am I losing this name?
I don't know, man.
Let me pull this up. I should have had this pulled up because I wanted to talk to you about this during the live fight chat, but I forgot about it.
Ooh. Live fight chat from a very long time ago.
I know. It's been so long, too, that it's like hard to talk about this with any kind of...
You mean like Michael Bisping? Like, you talking the Michael Bisping win?
Earlier fights than that. Let me look real quick.
So it has to be like pre-Matt Serra, right? Like, he hasn't had a...
I think he did it in the Matt Serra fight, honestly. A moment where he had Matt Serra down, and it was like he had stuffed the takedown. He was kind of like trying to get control of the wrist, and then St. Pierre will do this thing where he takes his like if he's holding him, he'll take his opposite wrist and like get wrist control, and then he'll
talk to the mic. Talk to the mic.
Oh, sorry, and he'll get wrist control, and then he'll like do this like almost jump turn over the body and go right and take the back. You know, like we'll watch some fights. That's one thing we could do is like watch some old fights. But
I'm okay with that. I'm just saying. Look,
I'm pretty sure he did it in the Fitch fight.
Yeah, but he never did that for a finish though. You know, like it's one thing to be. That was sort of my point. Like when the difference between Jon Jones and George St. Pierre, George St. Pierre might do that and take the back, but he's not going to go for the finish.
No, but
historically
it puts him
speaking,
in this like really dominant position, right?
Yeah.
And then he would kind of own that moment. Whereas like when you saw Jones do it, you could see he was thinking about stuff to do there. But then ultimately he just let Anthony Smith back up because he was like, I don't know if that would work out. And it might not have worked out, but it just looks cool. And you know what? It's all about spinning shit and looking cool.
That is true. That is true. But digressing from that, let's get to the co-main event: Kamaru Usman versus Tyron Woodley. Man, you were right, Fu, and I air horns. Way to go, Fu, man! You got one right finally.
Casual fucking Fu. You know, if you're casual, you can just like ignore how good Woodley's been in the past and just go on based on what you've seen from Usman and when you don't really know much. But
well, it's not even that. Like I think, like I was very clear that this is a very close fight. Like this is a 50-50 matchup, and this could easily be a passing the torch moment. But I picked Woodley off of experience. Boy, was I wrong. Oh my God, Usman is so dominant when he comes to the grappling department. He is so dominant when it comes to just pure cardio, pure volume. He reminds me of Cain Velasquez. Like, he really does. He doesn't have the striking, doesn't have the boxing ability of like a Cain, but that just relentless, I'm going to keep taking you down. I'm going to keep clinching up. I'm going to keep hitting you with, pity pat, ground and pound, but it's going to add up. I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to make you lose all willpower in this fight. It's Khabib-esque. It is, you can name any sort of dominant grappler in the past 20 years. Kamaru might be up there. This was such a enlightening performance because doing that against a lightweight Rafael dos Anjos who moved up was noteworthy, but it didn't mean as much to me because Kamaru is known to be a really good grappler, and he's a massive welterweight. So I was like, okay, he fought a guy that's predominantly a grappler, but is, historically speaking, a division smaller than him. On top of that, is also significantly bigger than him. Significantly smaller than him because Kamaru is so much bigger than the average welterweight. So, it didn't mean much to me, especially Colby Covington did it earlier. He showed the blueprint to it. But this was eye-opening in a lot of ways. This, I think, validates all of the statistical data that is around Kamaru Usman as just an unbelievable phenom now. I was like, no, he now has the win. He now has that performance, and it was this. I'm not going to get too much into like the Mark Goddard controversy about the stand-ups and then the whole it's a fight. Because I'll be honest, live, because me and Fu were doing the live fight chat, we weren't listening to it. I never heard that and never came across to me. And the whatever stand-ups or separations that did happen, I'll be honest, from when I was watching it, never seemed egregious to me. So I don't care about the controversy. I think it's a fake controversy. We can move on from that. It's not worth my time. And Mark Goddard's one of the best refs in the game. He might be a very arrogant personality when it comes to media, but shout out to him versus John Anik on Twitter. That was hilarious. But did you see that?
You have to be in that role. I mean, you have to
very
be.
quickly,
Like
Fu, because I know you're not as connected with MMA Twitter as maybe I am. Did you see the John Anik, Mark Goddard beef on Twitter?
Yeah,
okay,
when he was like, what's inconsistent is your commentator, like, knowing what's going on with the fight, But, I mean, dude, that's a hard fucking job. Like, being a ref, like, that fucking sucks. Like, you don't win. Like, you're not winning anything. Like, a guy, like, if you go back to, like, a Wilder Fury fight, it's like a guy gives a dude a chance to finish the fight and everyone bitches. Mm-hmm. A guy stops the fight, everyone bitches. A guy thinks he's protecting the fighter because his arm goes dead, everyone bitches. It's like,
we're going to talk about that in a second, that is for sure. But back to Usman's performance. Fu, your thoughts on Usman? How big of a win is this? Like, I've been trying in the past couple weeks to like contextualize like what sort of contender beating a champion sort of performance is this like. It reminds me a lot of like TJ Dillashaw versus Renan Barão, the first one. It reminds me in a very different way, but it reminds me of Cody Garbrandt versus Dominic Cruz. You know, where you have a dominant champion who uses specific styles and techniques that he actually innovated in a way. And then you have a contender that is younger, faster, better athlete, bigger. On top of that, he does all those innovative techniques that you started, champ, and he's added to them. He's added more wrinkles, more technique around it. And it was the grappling version of that in a way, right? Like we saw Usman just take Woodley to his element and dominate him there. I mean, it was breathtaking, shocking. You can add any adjective, superlative that you want. It was amazing. I want your thoughts on that performance.
Yeah, I mean, I started going through like the weight class. I'm like, who's going to beat this guy? Like, you know, you look at it and you're like, who's going to beat him? Like Darren Till ain't beating him, you know? Ben Askren, he's not beating him. Wonder Boy is not beating him. Like
the only one that might be able to match him with whatever he does is Mr. Colby Covington. Oh, God damn it.
Oh, God.
And it is the truth, though. I mean, they are mirror images of each other, except for one being a white supremacist white dude from the South, I think, and the other being a African immigrant. Who has,
absolute like awesome individual.
Yeah, great guy.
You know, like you know. So I hope Covington gets the shit kicked out of him.
But from a technique perspective, from a skill set, they are very reminiscent of each other.
Yeah. I think that's a good call out. So that's probably his toughest fight. Maybe Ben Askren when he doesn't look like your uncle or something. No. Look. We're going to get to that Ben Askren fight. That's a tough motherfucker right
He
there.
lost, okay? I'm telling you that right now. The ref should have called it.
Oh, man. No. But
we'll get to that.
You know, I think Usman's engine is absolutely ridiculous. Like, to be able to put on that level of performance every second for 5 full rounds was insane. It was insane. There was never a moment that he was not in control of that fight. Not a single moment. Who dominates the champ like that? Like, seriously. Like, there was no moment. Woodley never caught him clean. Woodley never had him hurt. You know, it was insane to watch. And when we were watching it live, we were just like, dude, this is just awful. Like,
it was starting to get brutal.
Had no plan.
I'll be honest. If this was boxing, you might even have seen a towel being thrown in. I know in MMA that's not a common occurrence, but in boxing it far more is a common occurrence. I think if we have like the boxing culture of like, hey, throw the towel in, survive to fight another day, Woodley would have been out there after the 4th round. I truly believe that. 8 or
9 rounds, if you don't have a chance to win the fight and you just got to get a KO.
Oh, even the ref, like it's far more encouraged to have like mercy stoppages from the ref in boxing. That might have happened here. I'll be honest, like. It might not have, because, I mean, Woodley, I mean, God, could he have landed that right hand? What could have happened? But he could never, I mean, I don't know if today's the conversation to have this conversation, but how good is Woodley? I think that is a conversation we should have at some point, because I think his title reign, I think with some time is going to look worse and worse. I'll be completely honest, unfortunately. But I don't want to have that conversation now. I think that takes away from Usman's performance and his win. But again, just sort of put that seed in your mind, listeners. How good is really Woodley? But digressing from that, Usman, Covington, give me that next. I know Usman had, I think he had knee surgery, right? Minor knee surgery. It wasn't something too serious, but he had minor knee surgery. He said, Covington's next, don't worry, guys. So I think we're probably going to get that fight, late summer, early fall, I'm thinking. I can't wait. I mean, give me that fight. That is That is the it's honestly a better version of Woodley Covington, a fight that I really wanted. I didn't know it was a better version, and now we do know. So that's awesome. I think, I'll be honest, I think Covington Woodley would have looked a lot like this as well. And I'm kind of glad Covington doesn't get that moment of beating Woodley. Just very spiteful, personal bias reason. I will fully admit that, but I'm fully happy that Usman had this moment and not Covington. Fully admit that.
Yeah, I think I'm very worried for where Woodley goes from here because like you said, like
UFC hates
Dana's
him.
not a fan, right? Like Dana doesn't like him.
I don't think he gets another title shot ever again.
He's such a class act too, and his mother, like what
that was
she
awesome.
had with Kamaru, like that's like moments in sports where like years from now people are gonna go back and be like, God, what a fucking moment that was, you know? For like, you just beat my son, but let me tell you, it's your time. It's your time. You know?
Can you
you
imagine like the type of mutual respect like those two competitors had to have had, their families had to have had for each other, and then obviously like the self-awareness of the mom to understand like, look, this is the man to take the torch from my son. Like I am okay with that in a way, and I'm gonna go support this young man. You know, I think it's so admirable. Like it's so amazing. Like Mama Woodley, man, shout out to you wherever you are. Just know that you are probably like the mother to all of MMA right now. Like that was a moment. Like you said, it's a moment. I think in a decade or two when we start really talking about Kamaru's reign or whatever that may be, his legacy, whatever that may be. That's is a
going
moment.
In a documentary.
100% is.
That's in a documentary, right
there.
A
30 for 30. That's 100% in it. And again, I think it added some words to that moment. Like I've said, the passing the torch moment. I said that on air for the live fight chat. Like this is what this is. We have the younger, better version of Woodley beating him. And again, for that moment to be like talked about in that way from those exact parties, it was just cool. Like I can't talk more about how awesome it was. But Usman, Covington next. Give me that. What's next for Woodley? I know you sort of prompted that question. We didn't really mention it. I don't know. He talked about going up to middleweight. I'm not opposed to that, especially if like Kelvin Gastelum ends up being a champion in the next year. I mean, Woodley has a win against him. That was a fun fight. I wouldn't mind seeing that again at middleweight. Though I would like Woodley to maybe just go for fun fights now as well, more than just trying to go for a belt. Like Woodley's an old guy. He's 36, 37 years old. I don't think he gets another title shot next from the UFC. I'll just be completely honest. And maybe a Robbie Lawler rematch. I would really like that. That was a fight that ended really too quick, in my opinion. I love that matchup. Give me that fight. And again, fun fights, fun matchups. Go for something that I'm not thinking of right now, but something that is sort of like what Bellator does for their like faded guys. I'm not saying Woodley's faded, but pit legends against legends and just have fun matchups. That's what Woodley should do now. Whether he goes and fights at middleweight and faces,
I mean, a Whitaker matchup would be good. Like
the Whitaker matchup would be good, but maybe like a Nate Marquardt rematch. Like that'd be fun. Like again, just fun matchups. Make some paychecks and have a couple more fights and end your career. That's what I would personally want for Woodley. Because I don't see the rebound. I don't see him having another run. So have a few fun fights, end your career with some paychecks, and ride off into the sunset. Yeah. That'd be awesome. But let's move on for the sake of time.
Real quick, fighters, if you're listening, just make Woodley your union fucking president.
It's not that hard.
That's the man right there. Like he'll fight Dana fucking tooth and nail.
Pete,
yeah, we're taking callers, Petey.
Sure. We are. I just have no idea when we're going to get to them specifically because we do have a lot of news I want to get to. So I'll probably make an announcement when, hey, this is when the breaking news is enough in terms of importance that we can start taking callers and break up the time. But we're not going to take callers any moment soon. I just want to point that out. Let's get to Ben Askren and Robbie Lawler. First off, let's just get to the stoppage and delve with that. I don't think it's as controversial as some people might think. I mean, live, we all thought he went out. The arm went down. It wasn't until we saw that one specific camera angle where we saw the thumbs up and everything. Again, I don't think it's a controversial stoppage at all. But God, what a fun fight. Phil, your thoughts on this very quick 3-minute fight?
Bro, this was like fight of the night for me. I mean, it was like one of those moments where we were literally watching it. If anyone wants to go back and watch the live, we weren't live during this one. Shit. But like Matt and I were watching this and we were like, God damn, Ben Askren's just too good of a wrestler. And then Robbie Lawler picked him up and dropped him on his fucking head. And it was like, oh my God, it's over.
And then unleashed a 20-punch combination on Ben Askren's poor head on the ground. And Ben Askren was out. Like there's,
oh man.
And he was bloody, fucked up. Oh, it was beautiful. And then what does Ben Askren do? Fucking turn him over, put him up against the fence, and gets a bulldog choke. Old school. And seemingly chokes the life out of Robbie Lawler, but Robbie Lawler wasn't choked out, and he was just playing possum. I don't know why. It is what it is. But, yes, this was a back-and-forth 3-minute fight. That was a great round of the year, one-round fight. It could have been stopped in that flurry from Robbie Lawler, absolutely. What's next for Ben Askren? I know he's going to be in London, obviously, for the Darren Till Masvidal fight. I would love him to face the winner of that fight. I think it makes perfect sense. Do that. But shout out to Ben Askren, man. Even though I think it's kind of a weird dude, I'll be honest. Like, he's kind of endearing, obviously, but he's still a weird guy. And, you know, we probably don't agree on much when it comes to our world views. But, God, he did add something to that fight week. He really did. And plus the Woodley bromance. That was fun. That was nice.
That was real fun, yeah.
That was cool.
Like, I really like Ben Askren. I think he brings a lot to that weight division. It's gonna be fun to see him. His little boom roasteds are really funny. Like when he just talks so much shit all day long. But what a fucking chin, man. Like, to not get put out by, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Robbie Lawler looking as good or better than he's ever looked, like fit wise, and to get dropped on your head, pounded, ground and pound like that, and then recover and submit someone. Jeez, man, like that's so crazy. Like, it was such a good fight. And it was a tough moment for Ben, and I think that's a good welcome to the UFC fight right there.
That was.
Yeah.
And I want to say this. I think I have been vindicated in saying this was the best debut for Ben Askren in the UFC was this matchup. Everyone's shitting on this fight, saying it makes no sense, blah, 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 blah. No. I'm right. You're wrong. And there's something like your face is poo. I forget what the old kid saying is, right? But like that's what it is, right?
Your glue.
Yeah, that. There we go. Thank you, Foo. I'm like, what the fuck is it saying? But something stupid. That's it. Anyways, very childish. Anyways, speaking of passing the torch moment, God, we gotta talk about this because we bigged her up, man. She did look really impressive. Really, Zhang defeating Tisha Torres just bullied her. Like I did not expect for her to. This was Usman Woodley. Like, it was the bigger, stronger, better grappler beating the veteran that historically has been the dominant grappler of the division. I would say Tisha Torres historically has been the best wrestler at women's strawweight. So Zhang coming in here and is dominating her in the grappling department, throwing her around. I was blown away by that, impressed. I don't know what's next for Zhang. We're going to talk about some matchups later on in the show for that division. But I'm telling you, Tatiana Suarez and Willie Zhang are going to be fighting for a belt in the near future. I'm sorry, Thug Rose, but I don't think your reign's going to survive these two women. These are very big, dominant, scary, dynamic grapplers. Shout out to Zhang, man. Salute. Phil, any thoughts on this performance, this fight?
Yeah, she's a monster. Like, we talked about this before, and we were like, Tisha Torres, she's only lost to the top, the top of the top, like the literally cream of the crop, like, fighters, and got dominated by Zhang, like just dominated. Legitimately, like I think she's probably the scariest woman fighter right now in her weight. Like,
I wouldn't go that far. She's up there.
And the way she just steamrolled that fight.
I bet you haven't watched Tatiana Suarez. Go watch Tatiana Suarez.
Give me some fights to watch for her.
Yo, she's Zhang, but she's like Megan Anderson size. Like, she's that giant for the division, right? But she is, I mean, oh God, this women's strawweight arguably is one of the best divisions in the sport. And that might be a hot take. I don't think it really is, though. But like, that top 15 at women's strawweight is fantastic. Filled with great veterans, great strikers, great grapplers, great prospects. Plus, you got Thug Rose at the top. I think she's a great champion. That division's awesome right now. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah, check out Tatiana Suarez. I'll send you some links. Let's get to God. What I think probably the saddest moment of the card, right? Like, this is. I was right though. Right, I said Pedro Munoz was going to be a real struggle for Cody Garbrandt. Yep. I think he was going to do it like this. But, wow. Pedro Munoz knocking out Cody Garbrandt in one round with the same exact combination that TJ Dillashaw did it twice. Wow. I can't think of a fighter that is as gifted as Cody Garbrandt, Fu, that when any moment of pressure or fire coming back at him, for him just to throw out all technique, all game plan, all sense of intelligence, and to square up and start just chucking hooks from the hip. I can't understand that. Like, I fundamentally don't get how that has not been courted in any way by his team. Like, that sort of tendency by him has not been stopped, has not been sort of drilled out of him. I don't understand it. But God, this is sad. It really is for Cody Garbrandt. I'm really worried from him from a mental standpoint. We're going to talk about Tony Ferguson later on in the show, but guy's been knocked out 3 times. We know he struggles from a mental side of the game. He just does. We can tell. I hope he is not somewhere being, clinically depressed. That would be seriously concerning. But Pedro Munoz, God, he knew exactly what to do. Piss off Cody Garbrandt, make him get into an exchange, and I'm just going to throw the tighter, shorter combinations, and I'm going to connect. I just am. Because Cody gets wide and wide as the firefight goes on. Your thoughts on this really sad performance from Cody Garbrandt?
Well, I was going to make a point to say how much I appreciate how Jon Jones listens to his corner and ask really good questions of his corner. Like when they say, hey, get some kicks to the body. He'll be like, how do you think I need to get there, right? Cody Garbrandt's the opposite. Like, he'll get in a tight spot, and he throws everything out the window, doesn't listen to his corner when they're yelling from the side, and just like gets sucked into the fight the other guy wants to have, And it's so crazy because, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's an Ohio State wrestling champion, correct?
Garbrandt?
I believe. Yeah. I believe he's a significantly good wrestler and has won some big shit in wrestling.
High
he
school,
has
high school, not college, but high school. Yes,
yeah, yeah. That's what I meant. Ohio State, like wrestling.
Yeah, like the
high
championship, high school championship. Yes, not
Yes.
like Ohio State, the university.
No.
Yeah,
no.
just want to. Sorry, that's what I was confused. Like Ohio State. I don't think he.
Sorry, I was trying to say it in a way that would make sense that it was high school, but then the Ohio State College is always going to take precedent over that. But
yep.
You know, so I'm from Ohio, and I know like wrestling there is big shit. It's in every high school. Like a lot of my cousins wrestle. It's very competitive. So he's obviously got an amazing skill set there. And then his ability to have great stand-up and to see someone so talented throw it all away every moment where he like loses his cool in the ring. You would have thought they would have brought in like a sports psychologist, you know, or something for him, someone to kind of maybe try to make a breakthrough and be able to like teach him to calm himself down in those moments, because it's embarrassing to be at that level and to lose yourself like that, you know, and to be beat the same way. I don't know where he goes from here. Like it's sad. I hope they bring someone in to help him with the mental aspect of the game, because he has everything else. I mean, you know,
I know you're not as tapped into it as I am. There was Aaron Bronstetter is his name, I think. I know I might be pronouncing his last name wrong, from TSN out in Canada, right? Who's doing a fantastic job recently, by the way, in the media industry. He had a podcast with an interview within this podcast with Justin Buchholz, who was the former head coach of Team Alpha Male, obviously the gym of Cody Garbrandt, Uriah Faber, formerly TJ Dillashaw, Joseph Benavidez, etc., Chad Mendes. Basically, I didn't listen to the whole thing. I listened to some of it, and then I went and caught on the quotes later. But Justin came out and was very, very critical of that gym, its practices, its mentality, the culture within that gym, the lack of innovation, the Uriah Faber's control over the gym and how that is detrimental to it. Again, that is obviously a guy that's recently been fired from the gym, so put that, add that caveat with this sort of information. But for the sake of the argument, switching it to Cody Garbrandt, sort of things that he needs to fix, I'll be honest, he needs to get away from Team Alpha Male. I think he needs to go, and this is going to sound crazy, go and find TJ Dillashaw and Dwayne Ludwig and say, train me. Please, teach me. He needs a very sharp striking coach to hone the skill he has, the talent he has. He needs a good environment for that to be conducive to change those habits. And just honestly speaking, Team Alpha Male doesn't have that, and they haven't been leading the charge of MMA gyms and MMA teams in the low weight classes for some time now. So I think it's just a time to move on. I know Cody Garbrandt will get a lot of shit for that because he was the guy that came out and said TJ Dillashaw is a snake. Him and Dwayne Ludwig tried to sabotage Team Alpha Male, and there's that huge drama and split, right? That's highly documented. I don't need to delve into. But he needs to go and leave Team Alpha Male. And maybe it's not Dwayne Ludwig. That would be my personal choice. Plus, I think the whole like Rocky Apollo vibe from like Rocky 3. Tell me that's not there, right? Rocky has to go back to go out to California in the gym, right, and train with Apollo. Come on, they're running on the beach in dolphin shorts very soon, and they're dancing in the waves again like best friends, like they used to be. Give me that. I think that's a poetic moment in the sport. But digressing, Cody Garbrandt, switch camps, because I don't think you're going to change whatever is the issue. Because the issue is not technique. It's not skill. It obviously isn't that, because the first 3 minutes of this fight, he was on the back foot, boxing, jabbing, looking great. And the second it got hairy, the second it got into a firefight, throughout all that technique, all the game plan in the world, and that just needs to be fixed. Pedro Munoz, what's next for him? Maybe Aljamain Sterling, maybe a Peter Yan, somebody around that. It looks like Marlon Moraes and TJ Dillashaw is not happening. I think sort of the rumor is that they're going to make the Henry Cejudo rematch for Dillashaw, so maybe Marlon Moraes options available for Munoz or Aljamain Sterling, but whatever it may be, there's plenty of contenders in this division right now. Match them up with one of them, and let's figure out who's the best guy. Let's move on to, this is going to be the last two fights we're going to talk about, and then move on, just for the sake of time. God, I don't know how we're going to get to all these topics, Fu. I'll be honest.
I don't know. We're going to have to speed through a few.
Well, Wichita, we're going to talk about one fight. Let's be honest. That would be easy. Zabit Magomed-Shaparov defeating Jeremy Stephens. Looking really impressive doing it. His footwork was fantastic. His shot selection was fantastic. His accuracy was fantastic. I did not expect that level of striking and dominance from Zabit. Though I will give the one issue that everyone has been saying, and I will parrot it. Obviously, Zabit has cardio issues, because this is now the third or fourth fight in a row where that third round he loses. His cardio dips, and he's not able to keep that movement anymore. He's not able to keep up the volume like he was in the first two rounds. And that hurt him. It hurt him in the Jeremy Stephens fight, hurt him in the Kyle Bonchiak fight, or whatever his name was. That is something to fix, because in a 5-round fight, I think Zabit probably loses to a lot of the guys we talk about, because that cardio is a big issue. But from a technical side, Zabit's one of the most interesting contenders at featherweight right now, along with Yair Rodriguez. Obviously, you have Max Holloway at the top, moving up and fighting an interim belt. You have Alexander Volkanovski. There is some guys you can sort of match up. I would love the Magomed-Sharapov and Rodriguez matchup to be made again, because that matchup it screams to me video game fight. But other than that, Fu, your thoughts on Zabit?
He looked really good, man. He, like you said, he did gas out, but ultimately, the stuff he did, I think, is entertaining for people. Jumping off the cage, trying some shit. It's like he's a fun fighter to watch, and obviously he's got a great skill set to compete in that weight class. He's just gonna have to work on the cardio, which to me is not normal, right?
What do you mean?
Am I wrong in thinking that he's Eastern European, right? Obviously.
Yeah, of course.
I feel like I always feel like cardio is not an issue with fighters from there. But man, not everyone's the same, obviously. But if you look at like Khabib or some of these guys, they don't gas.
Well, no, Khabib actually did have cardio issues. Like Khabib was out there eating Mexican food and smoking hookah way too much, man. I'm telling you, Khabib had cardio issues to start out. He was just such a dominant grappler that didn't matter. And
yeah,
it's harder for your cardio to be obviously bad if you're on top of somebody on the ground. You're not moving around, you're not throwing combinations. It's very easy to see someone that's drained cardio-wise if they're standing up.
Yeah.
It's more apparent. But no, I wouldn't say that's largely a stereotype of Eastern Europeans, is that they have good cardio. I wouldn't say it's, I don't know.
I just think of it in a lot of sports, and I'm like, when I look at boxers from that area, they are just like Vajdik, Usyk, Loma, they just don't have cardio issues like that. And then Khabib now obviously doesn't have, those issues. So I think obviously Zabit is a much more of a stand-up fighter than that. So that might be why it's so apparent and wasn't with him. But yeah, work on the cardio, and he's probably going to dominate the weight class. He's very, very technically sound.
Absolutely agree. Let's move on to the last fight we're going to talk about. Johnny Walker. God damn. Johnny fucking Walker. The legend, man. He's a legend. The best dancer in MMA, right? That is fact. Obviously getting a flying knee knockout over Misha Serkinov in 30 seconds. I don't know what to say about this guy because every fight he's had in the UFC has been highlight reel, quick, video game-esque knockout. And, I mean, he looks great doing it. Like, the level of feints he was throwing in this fight, even though it was only 30 seconds, was really impressive. Like, I was like, ooh, Johnny Walker, like, has the hands down, a lot of head movement, a lot of just overall movement. I like that. And all of a sudden, boom, flying knee, knockout, it was over. And I'm left there standing up going, oh, my God. And I don't know what to think. And then on top of that, he then does the worm and dislocates his shoulder doing the worm, which was the most significant fight, or I should say significant strike he's taken in his UFC career thus far, was him falling to the mat doing the worm and then dislocating his shoulder. I don't know whether to fast track this guy or to take the slow burn because, look, like, all these fights are ending too fast. Like, he needs some rounds. Like, this was a fight I was hoping he was going to get some rounds in. I was hoping we were going to see what his ground game was like against Turkinov. None of that was answered. So, I don't know what's next. Maybe Corey Anderson. I would really like maybe that matchup for Johnny Walker, guy that is not the greatest competitor, not the most flashy competitor, but a really fundamentally sound all-around MMA fighter like Corey Anderson. Maybe that it would be a fun matchup, but maybe Johnny Walker goes out there and he does a spinning cartwheel kick and knocks out this guy in 45 seconds. Who knows? But Johnny Walker is awesome. We need more Johnny Walkers of the world. Fu, your thoughts on the new light heavyweight contender after beating a legit top 10 competitor in 30 seconds now? And also, I would say this, combined time now for his UFC career is less than a round.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like I think his combined time in the ring was something ridiculous.
It was like 3 minutes and 30-something seconds. It was absurd.
Yeah, he's legit. Like, we talked about this, a phenom. Like, the things he's doing to people, it's pretty wild to watch. I think he doesn't want to be fast tracked. From listening to him talk, going through his interviews, like, he really wants to do it, I guess, what he would consider the right way, like take, some time, get the right experience under his belt, and then go into like a Jon Jones type fight where he feels like he would have all the tools he needed to really win that fight. Whereas, like, he still thinks he could beat Jon Jones. He was very clear about that. Like, I think I could contend with Jon Jones, no problem. But if I get some more fights, I'll go into that fight knowing I can win. Right. So, he's fun. Sports need people like him. I mean, like, I know Dana White's pissed at him for the worm and all that, but I mean, the guy's fun. Like, he makes the event. When he's on a card, it's like, you're going to get like a killer knockout. You're going to get some crazy dance. You're going to get a fun interview, like, he's a fun dude.
I absolutely agree.
Kind of rolls into Derek Lewis here, huh? Or are we going over that? Or are we just going to skip over that?
No, we got to touch on that. We have to. It's my boy JDS. Like, I've been a huge JDS mark for nearing a decade now. No, it's probably over a decade. Yeah, his debut against Verdun was 2008, 2009. So yeah, been a decade of me being a huge, massive fanboy of JDS. I will say this: this fight was really sloppy. I did not like exactly what I saw from JDS. I thought JDS is a guy that is, in this sort of late stage of his career, a guy that is game plan centric, usually a guy that really is jab centric as well. And he had Derek Lewis up against the cage, and obviously he knew that Lewis was doing the poor man's Woodley style, right? Usually that cage is sort of like a defensive prop, in a way to prop you up, like keep you standing, and a sort of launching pad for your counter right hand. So that big right hand from Lewis. And what was JDS doing? Instead of jabbing to the body, working leg kicks, doing things to sort of pick apart Lewis in a technical way? Nope. Huge monster right hands right back at Lewis. Both guys slipping and sliding. And then Lewis, I mean, he said that he hurt his knee heading into this fight. It also looked like something happened to his stomach. I'll be honest, when I saw it live, it looked like he got a hernia. Like, it looked like that almost happened, right? It was weird. I don't have much to say about this from a technical side because, again, it was a sloppy heavyweight fight that looked off in a way. And I'm not saying off like it was a fixed or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying like it just looked weird. And I don't want to take a lot of points or sort of perceptions from either guy from a very weird fight. Like maybe it was just Lewis did come in hurt and more injuries than maybe we knew of. And JDS, throwing out game plan for a moment, throwing the right hand like he did. And we got that dynamic in this matchup. But it was a weird fight. Shout out to JDS getting the win in the second round. I could care less about the rest of this card, though. I don't really want to talk about it. I'll be honest. Other than maybe the Nico Price-Tim Means fight, I'll give that fight a quick sort of salute because that comeback knockout was absolutely insane. Go check out that fight if you haven't. But, Fu, your thoughts on this main event, UFC Wichita. I think it was on UFC ESPN Plus. But your thoughts on Junior Santos defeating Derek Lewis.
It was a Derek Lewis fight, right? I mean, like it's very like what he fought like Volkov, and wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he just kind of like was there until the knockout happened, like, and I think Junior Dos Santos just superior boxer, and obviously landed a great liver kick that really shut down like anything I think Derek Lewis wanted to do at the point. So, hope JDS is in good form for some really fun fights. I'd like to see, I know he came out and kind of called out Cormier and said, Brock isn't here. Give me the shot, like Brock's not even in the sport. So I think we'll see how that all plays out. But JDS, salute.
I will say this, JDS, if you're listening and you're doing a media scrum post-fight, do not sing R. Kelly songs in 2019.
No, bro, don't do that.
Nope. Even I can't believe I can fly. Like nope. Sorry, can't do it. Brief mention though of some of the fights on this card. We're not going to dive into them. Elisu Salitsky dos Santos defeating Curtis Melender via submission. Really impressive fight from him. Absolutely dominated a guy that's been talked about for a while in Curtis Melender. Like I said, Nico.
Second most wins in the weight class too, right? So I think he should be looking at some type of a title shot or something.
From active fighters, I believe. Yes.
From active fighters, yeah.
Blagway Ivanov defeating Ben Rothwell. That was just a god-awful fight. God. Benil Dariush defeating Drew Dober. Really good submission in the second round. Armbar. Amari Akhmedov defeating Tim Boetsch via unanimous decision. I think ending Tim Boetsch's sort of relevance in the middleweight division outright. And Anthony Rocco Martin defeating Sergio Moraes via unanimous decision. Also, quick mention of Yana Kunitskaya defeating Marion Renault via unanimous decision. That was a fun fight back and forth. And Kunitskaya's nose looked like it was permanently rearranged. So go watch that one as well. Fu, any thoughts on those undercard fights, or you want to just move on?
No, I had the Kunitskaya fight very tight.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good decision, but it was very close.
I had Renault winning, I'll be honest, but I have no issue with Kunitskaya winning that one. Let's get to the card coming up this weekend and preview it. Darren Till versus Jorge Masvidal, a fight that I'm really intrigued by. And honestly, a fight that could be bad. I'm actually, like, it's one of those, like, look, I know, like, Darren Till has this reputation as, like, a really strong puncher, really good striker. But he's put on a lot of bad fights. Jorge Masvidal, a guy that has a reputation as being a really good striker, really fundamental all-around MMA fighter as well. Great counter wrestler, good submissions, good power, great jab, great boxing fundamentals. Has put on some really bad fights out of time. So I'm just putting that caveat out there, that thought out there in the universe. I apologize if it does happen now, but I could see Till sort of trying to do the Stephen Thompson route and just be on the outside, working a lot of footwork, a lot of outside movement, a lot of feints, and Masvidal just sort of chasing him, and both guys not throwing a lot or not landing a lot. I could 100% see that, but to sort of digress from that point, tabling that aspect of this fight, Masvidal all around is the better fighter of the two. I feel like that's completely obvious. I think he's the better striker in terms of pure technique. He is the better striker. On top of that, he is a great wrestler, great grappler. I think that's always been underrated from Masvidal's game is his grappling ability. Plus, like I said, great jab in the sport, one of the better jabs in the sport as well. He might beat Darren Till. Like, I could 100% see Masvidal coming in here and just outfighting Darren Till. And Darren Till not having a counter-striking game plan and that actually hurting Till. Because I think if Till is the aggressor and they both sort of meet in the center, Masvidal wins 9 out of 10 times. I believe that. However, I think that Darren Till is going to be a little bit smarter here and play the outside, work feints. I think he is going to land that left hand at some point. And Masvidal, even though I've said he's a fantastic striker, he is. Defensively, he is hittable, though. He does not have the best head movement. Can be a little bit too static in his approach. I can see Till sort of piecing him apart in that way. It's a close fight. It's a fight that I can see playing out in so many different ways and paths of victory for either guy. It's a tough one to pick. I am hesitantly picking Darren Till. I think also size, power, speed, age are factors in this fight. All of those are on the side of Darren Till. When all the X factors are on the side of one person, that is something that you can't really, excuse with, oh, well, the other guy's just a better technical fighter. Well, yeah, you can be the better technical fighter, but if you're not bigger, stronger, younger, faster than your opponent, you're going to have issues. You are, because you cannot pull off that technique as efficiently when your opponent's faster than you, stronger than you, bigger than you, hits harder than you. So again, I'm picking Till hesitantly by decision in a really fun fight. Because I'm being optimist here, but I can also see it again playing out where Till is a little more defensively sound, and Masvidal is not able to really engage the way he wants, and we get both guys staring at each other. That can 100% happen. I think that doesn't happen. I think we get a good fight, but Till is still the defensive-minded fighter, and he wins. Your thoughts on this fight, Fu?
Yeah, I'm picking Till. I think, like you said, that's Masvidal could easily win this fight. We know that. He has struggled anytime because his jab is what's always won him the fights. He keeps people at range, and then he slowly starts to break people down. As he's come into fights against guys that are taller than him, got more range than him, where he can't control and dominate with the jab, he's lost those fights. And when you look at him versus Wonderboy, like me, got knocked down like 3 times by Wonderboy in that fight. A kick to the midsection, got knocked down by a right hand. And then another time he kicked in the head or something, I think got knocked down. But Wonderboy just controlled the fight. He didn't try to wrestle him because he knew that would be a stupid decision. I'm pretty sure Till's going to do the same thing. Like, he'll probably catch him, knock him down a few times. I don't know that he's going to get down and wrestle him. He's probably just going to try to control, get the decision, get himself a shot at the belt. Like, that's kind of what he wants to do, I think. Right. And so I see it looking a lot like Wonderboy. Only thing is Till's not the striker that Wonderboy is, like he doesn't have as many tools, maybe is the right thing to say.
And also
very good striker, just not as many tools.
Also, I would say his footwork is not built to be the guy that's moving around that black line on the outside and circling the whole time. Till is much more of a seek and destroy striker, and I think that actually, again, sort of going into like this could be a fight that Masvidal wins. If Till is coming forward and trying to be the aggressor, I think Masvidal might chew him up. I think if Masvidal plays the counter-striking game, he might be better adept at that potentially. But hopefully Till is smart enough to know you don't do that.
And he can't just shell up. Masvidal can't do what he normally does. If he gets hit with like a strike, he can't just go into full just shell up.
High guard.
Yep. Yeah. That's when I've watched Masvidal, when I see him really look his worst, he just really gets into just like a turtle shell defense and tries not to get hit. And it's like, well, that's not going to work,
Masvidal is definitely one of those guys who's been fighting from such a young age where he never really, almost like Danny Garcia. I'll put like Danny Garcia in this bracket as well for like a boxing comparison, people. Like he'll be in the pocket and eating shots, or at least it looks like he's eating shots, but he's completely comfortable there. Because like he knows like, oh, I'll just eat this shot. And I can kind of understand that because like let's say I'm sparring someone, right, in the ring. And I know my sparring partner isn't the best, or I know I can take the shots and I'll just let him work. I'll let him get tired, and I'll just shell up. I'll shell up and I'll let him unload, and then I'll come back with my combination. Masvidal does that because, again, he is so comfortable in those exchanges, in those pockets, but he's losing rounds doing that. He's losing points doing that. I think that's what we're going to kind of have happen in this fight, but God, it's a very close one. PD, please, or Ped, please stop bringing that up in the chat. I don't care.
No.
None of us care about that in the chat. Please stop bringing that up. Let's move on to the co-main event. Leon Edwards versus Gunnar Nelson. A fight that I'm really intrigued by. Leon Edwards has looked fantastic as of late, and also one of those guys that some of those earlier wins and losses in his career that kind of looked bad at the moment, as time has sort of rolled on, have actually looked better. Like his wins against Vicente Luque or Brian Barberena. Those wins are getting better with time. And plus he lost to the Kamaru Usman, like way back in the day. That win is looking better and better, obviously, as time goes on. So I think Leon Edwards is also one of those guys where we always underrated him. On top of that, he is also getting better. He is getting more technical, getting more comfortable in there, getting more composed. His performance against Donald Cerrone was quite impressive. Plus, he's also a pretty good grappler and wrestler as well. Gunnar Nelson, though, he is a guy that historically, in my opinion, has always underwhelmed. Great pedigree, great talent, great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu career. But he's also a guy that, like I've said, has underwhelmed. Has, put in bad performances after bad performances when he should be winning. I think Leon Edwards is going to come out here and kind of style on Gunnar Nelson and probably beat him up in the process. Maybe like a second or third round finish. I expect this to be almost a coming out fight for Leon Edwards. And honestly, this be a conversation where we talk about post-Saturday, post this fight, where it's like, man, Till Edwards in London, that is an all-UK showdown that I want to see. That's, I think, it's going to be the main talking point post-UFC London is, let's get Darren Till and Leon Edwards in a fight together. That's the UFC's Paul Daly, Michael Venom Page, yet it's actually like an elite fight with like elite competitors at the top that are talented. So I that's what I'm sort of looking forward to post this. But Leon Edwards versus Gunnar Nelson, your thoughts, Fu, instead of arguing with the chat.
So I've done a little bit of research on this. I think you're right. Leon Edwards, he looks like they got to take this fight. Like Gunnar Nelson, obviously very talented, but like you said, has really had some underwhelming performances. Whereas I think Leon Edwards continues to impress. And if he does beat Nelson just in dramatic fashion, right? Like we should see him come up in the ranks and be a contender, right? So, in a fucking just brutal division with a lot of fucking talent. But
and also like it's one of those where like there's the division's kind of like has a plan. Like I think Usman Covington's the fight they're planning next for the title. I think Askren versus the winner of Till Masvidal is next. I think Leon Edwards might be that little bit of like the awkward guy out, the awkward third wheel, so to speak. But like you said, it's a great division right now. Like it historically has always been a great division. And those top guys are really tough competitors and also have specific styles, I think, that really give Leon Edwards trouble. But I've always been a fan of Edwards, so I like this matchup. And I also like these two top fights on the card. I think they're great matchups for the division and move the division forward. So I'm ecstatic by these pairing, the pairing of Till and Edwards on this card, even though they should have just been fighting each other. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Let's get to Volkan Ozdemir versus Dominic Reyes, the last fight we're going to talk about on this card. Brief mention, though, I will say Arnold Allen, Mark DeCassi versus Joseph Duffy, Danny Roberts on the card, Nathaniel Wood. A lot of UK names, Tom Breeze on the card. If this card is stacked with UK talent and really fun action matchups that you should be watching and paying attention to. Like the Arnold Allen, Jordan Rinaldi fight, that one should be really fun and features two really fun prospects on top of that. And Arnold Allen is a gigantic fucking featherweight. And plus, I mean, he is one of those British prospects that's been getting a lot of media coverage. So it's going to be interesting to see what it's like for him going forward. But digressing from those fights, Volkan Ozdemir versus Dominic Reyes, I am completely conflicted about this matchup for similar reasons as to other matches we talked about on other cards. Ozdemir is better technically than Dominic Reyes. However, Dominic Reyes seems to have some godly power and dynamic ability to where he can just finish opponents left and right. This is a huge step up in competition, in my opinion, but it's one that I think he can win. I think Ozdemir has been largely a hype job in a way. I think his flash win against Misha Serkinov means less and less as time moves on. And Dominic Reyes may be a legit prospect, undefeated prospect in this division that is now moving that status to contendership. I think he's going to knock out Ozdemir at some point in the first or second round and actually look bad doing it because I don't think Reyes has looked quite impressive thus far in his career. That might be shocking, but again, not really on the Reyes bandwagon yet. But I'm also not a big fan of Ozdemir. So my thoughts on the matchup. Fu, your thoughts on the matchup?
Yeah, I think early on, you'll probably see Ozdemir looking okay. You know, he's going to come out. He comes out super heavy, like throwing every fucking thing he has in like first like 2-3 minutes of the fight. And then he just completely gasses out. And it's horrible after that to me to watch him. So I think Reyes will win this fight probably mid-second round. If it goes to decision, obviously, I think Reyes will win a decision. But I think he'll probably knock him out second round or so. Because I think Ozdemir will just gas and struggle against, the power that Reyes has.
Absolutely agree. Let's move on to the news of the day or the last couple weeks. So much to get to. Let's try to run through it as fast as we can. Fu. Speaking of UFC 235, or switching back to it, I should say, it did a fantastic pay-per-view buy rate of 550,000 to 650,000 views or buys per Dave Meltzer of MMA Fighting. I will just, not a big news story we need to get to or dissect, but, talking about the Deontay Wilder deal, $100 million, 3 fights, right? Jon Jones has a pay-per-view that did 650,000 buys. He got paid $500,000 guaranteed. Yep. I mean, that's pretty obvious. That's really what I want. That's my whole point about bringing this up. Fu, any other thoughts about the buy rate? Nope.
Dude, guys, please get a union. Get a union and get more money. Good Lord. Like, how are you only making $500K for a...
Or just be better negotiators, man. Like, that's right. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, if you're a UFC fighter, you can use these boxing contracts and these deals to your benefit. Absolutely. If you're Jon Jones and you're Malky Kawa and his team, how are you not in your next negotiation period using things like the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder deals and the Canelo deals and saying, hey, look, we should be getting something like this, guys. We should be getting paid $15 million per fight, guaranteed. But that's not going to happen. Let's be honest.
But
Digressing.
even a couple million. I mean, even
Oh,
if
yeah.
they started getting pay-per-view points, something like
Well,
that.
no, he
you
gets
know what I
pay-per-view
mean?
points. He gets pay-per-view points, but
Oh, does he?
yeah, but again, he's going to get what a dollar or two per buy,
Man.
and those are only like from the if you get a chance and do this research, it should be easy to look up. Look up Eddie Alvarez UFC contract. Right, just Google that. You should be able to find a news article from around the time. But when Eddie Alvarez was suing Bellator to leave and go to the UFC because Bellator wasn't going to let him go, his entire UFC contract, or the one that he was offered, was released to the public. The only contract that has been released to the public has been Eddie's contract. And there was a big contract at the time. It was massive. He was only get pay-per-view points after it hit certain thresholds. So let's say it does 250,000 buys. He gets 50 cents on the dollar, or not 50 cents on the dollar, 50 cents per buy, right? If it hits that mark. Hits 500,000, it's $1 for every buy. You know, that's sort of how it's run in the UFC. So the most Jon Jones got paid for, guys, was maybe a few million. Maybe. But even then, he should get paid a lot more than that. Look at Conor McGregor. His base pay for that Khabib fight was $3 million. And that buy rate was 2.4 million buys, guys.
Oh, my God.
2.4 million buys, and he only got paid $3 million. Think about that. Wilder got paid $4 million for a fight that did, quick maths here, what is that, like 1/8 the buys? The 1/8 is close. Close enough, right? That's pretty close. Yeah, 1/8. Yeah, that's about 1/8. Look at me, man. Math major over here. Just kidding. History major. Fuck math. Digressing, though. Yeah, UFC fighters unionize. Get better at negotiating because all of you guys should be making a lot more. But let's move on for the sake of time. Valentina Shevchenko, her next fight has been confirmed, fighting Jessica Ai at UFC 238. On top of that, looks like UFC 238 is going to be a little bit of a women-centric card with Tatiana Suarez versus Nina Anasarov, also known as the girlfriend of Amanda Nunes, a.k.a. the cutest couple in MMA, and Caitlin Shikogan versus Joanne Calderwood, also added to that card. Just interesting to note, two really good fights, contender fights on that card. Obviously, Calderwood Shikogan is at flyweight, so the winner of that fight most likely is going to fight the winner of the main event, Shevchenko versus Ai. And also Tatiana Suarez versus Nina Anasarov is a fantastic contender fight for the winner of Thug Rose and Jessica Andrade. Your thoughts on these women's fights being announced, Fu?
I think it's cool. I like the idea of this because I was looking at it, I'm like, damn, this is like a women's kind of highlight card.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty badass. I think both of us are pretty forward thinking with that. Like I don't, I love the idea of putting women in combat sports to the front, on some of this stuff. Like I've seen, some Twitter guys obviously that think this is some weird agenda by promoters or outfits. It's to me that's odd. It's
SJWs.
It's like, dude, chill. Like
cultural Marxists.
Yeah, and that's weird to me. Like let's enjoy the fact that there are some very talented women in this sport and give them some notice. But what I will say is the UFC seems to be pretty on the even pay scale with
it's pretty close.
The top
yeah.
women and the top men, which is definitely something boxing has not done. And
well, I would say
well, they're getting better at.
No. I mean, I would say by far MMA is surprisingly. This is the crazy thing about MMA is far more progressive when it comes to women fighting.
Yeah.
In combat sports, than I think probably any other combat sports out there. Maybe like a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like maybe Taekwondo can make the argument that they're more progressive when it comes to like women inclusion. And plus they have a longer history of it. than the UFC/MMA. But I mean, for the major combat sports that get airtime, boxing, MMA, maybe kickboxing, maybe add that to the mix. MMA is far more accepting and pushes women to the forefront. Obviously, that is in large part due to the success of Ronda Rousey. I don't think if that never happened, I don't know if we get a UFC 238 in 2019 having 3 women fights and top billing. I don't know if that happens, but that's beside the point. These are great fights, like you said.
Yep.
If you are a misogynistic asshole out there listening to this show that doesn't want us talking about this, and you watch like Thug Rose versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the first fight, and you aren't completely on your feet screaming Thug Rose with Daniel Cormier when she gets that knockout, you don't have a soul. Like, you're not a part of Team Human. I want to make that perfectly clear. And this is not the channel for you. Go find another channel, please. But anyways, shout out to MMA being surprisingly progressive when it comes to like gender equality.
Yeah, I want to say what was the one card where Nunes fought Joanna, I believe, right? And then no, who did she fight?
Shevchenko?
First round knockout.
No, first round knockout. You mean Cyborg then?
Cyborg, sorry, Cyborg, and then there was the other main event.
Jon Jones.
Like equal pay.
It wasn't equal. It was close.
Was it close? It's like 500,000 and 350,000,
yep.
I think, or something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, let's get at it, boxing. Pay the women better. Like, we've got people leaving boxing to go to MMA.
Or hell, 3-minute rounds.
3-minute rounds.
It's not that hard. Like, it's
12 rounds.
It's so obvious that women's boxing is like handcuffed by the sanctioning bodies and made to be unequal. The literal fight parameters are not the same. Like, you can't get more systemic and apparent in terms of inequality with genders in boxing than you do with that. Compared to with MMA, where it's the same. It's 5-minute fights, 5-round championship fights. Like, it's the same. Nothing's different. The pay at the top is relatively the same too for the stars. But digressing from that, let's move on. By the way, PD, if you want to call in like now, go for it. Shouldn't be an issue. Try to breeze through these topics as much as possible. Yoel Romero is going to face Jacare Souza in a rematch because allegedly from Romero, Boachina Costa is dealing with some PD issues from USADA. Boachina has not liked that particular statement, has come out recently. And he's saying it's not true. He's saying there's no failed doping test. So I don't know whether or not it's true or not. I don't care. But I will say this. I am very disappointed we're not getting the Romero-Boachina fight. That was a fantastic fight to make. Why aren't we getting that? If it's not due to the USADA issue, then why not? I want to hear a reason, and we haven't been told that. Would like to hear a reason. Plus, I really don't need the Romero-Jacare rematch. Like, that was a fight I didn't want. It was a matchup that didn't make sense to me, and also one that wasn't on my radar in any sense of the word. But sorry, Fu, your thoughts on Romero-Jacare rematch, Boachina not getting the fight due to alleged PD use, but he is saying that's not true. Your thoughts on this whole story?
I mean, there's got to be something to it, right? You don't just change a fight.
It wasn't changing. The fight was never scheduled.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought
the fight was never made. The fight was never made. It was just talked about being made.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it just didn't get made, and now one guy's making an allegation that you really shouldn't make. Unless you have some serious, fucking support to that, because this is someone's career, and that honestly, that stain doesn't go away very easily.
And also why this is now a situation is because USADA has come out recently and changed their policy about potential anti-doping violations and them not releasing that information until the case is dealt with. So that's why it's 100% possible that Boachina did fail drug test, and they're going through the process, and USADA is not talking about it because they did recently change their policy.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, controversial split decision in the first fight. You know, hopefully it's a better decision, more clear win for Romero, and then we get the better fight.
Or Jacare.
Whatever's cleared up, you know.
I don't care which one wins, but it's just a matchup I really didn't particularly want. But a matchup I did like, I didn't know I wanted this quickly to be made, was Alexander Gustafsson and Anthony Smith are slated to headline UFC Stockholm. I will say this. I was pleasantly surprised by the quick turnaround of not only Anthony Smith making a fight basically, within a week after he lost the title, or not lost the title, but lost the title shot. That was kind of surprising to me. On top of that, Gustafsson, a guy that historically has been really inactive and has dealt with that in the past, coming back really soon after his own loss to Jon Jones and fighting Anthony Smith, headlining UFC Stockholm, which has always been really a sort of, I'm going to say, a curse for Gustafsson. He's had a lot of issues headlining in Sweden, even though he's a massive superstar in that country. But I love this matchup. I think it makes perfect sense. It reminds me a lot of, not in terms of competitiveness and what it meant at the time, but sort of like Daniel Cormier versus Alexander Gustafsson when that was made, when Jon Jones was in with his legal issues. It was the guys that lost to Jon Jones. Who's the best one? These are the two guys that gave Jon Jones the toughest fight. Let's see who wins. These are the two guys that have recently lost to Jon Jones. Let's see who can bounce back right away. I like that matchup, and one that also would never happen in boxing. Like we would never see two guys that would lose to the dominant champion then fight each other in a really tough matchup. Like that would never happen. I don't know if it's maybe the best move for Gustafsson long term to take Anthony Smith fight, because I could definitely see Anthony Smith coming out here and getting older, getting less, I would say, innovative, less efficient Gustafsson, but love the matchup. Your thoughts on it, Phil?
Yeah, good, very good matchup. You know, is Gustafsson gonna do what Anthony Smith hopes his opponents do, and ultimately just wear down enough that he can finish them? I don't know that he will. Gustafsson doesn't seem to have an issue with that part of his game. He doesn't seem to have the wear out issue. But I will say Smith is fucking mad durable, and the fact that he made it 5 rounds with Jones was impressive as shit. So I think where Gustafsson's made a big mistake is saying that if he can't beat Smith, that he's just probably not good for the sport anymore or something. Did you see this comment? He said something like, if I can't beat Anthony Smith, then, then I don't really need to be doing this or something.
That was super self-aware, by the way, of Gustafsson. I did like that. Like, he was like, yeah, if I can't beat Anthony Smith, like, why would I be doing this still?
Yeah, and so I think that's like kind of one of those comments where you're like, man, you've really put a lot of undue pressure on yourself, because a lot of people are going to be like looking at that.
Add in the fact it's in your hometown, home country. You are literally the only reason the UFC goes to that country and that city is because of you. Add some more pressure on top of that hometown fight.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, so then, does he come out to impress more? Does he not handle the moment well and maybe does gas and gives Smith some of those opportunities that he's looking for? I don't know. It's a tough fight to pick, but I think it's a fun fight. I like both of these guys. I think they're both good dudes.
And also,
Smith obviously deserves a lot of praise for, he didn't try to, pull any bullshit, anything like that. And I like the guy.
It's also one that I don't see it being a bad fight, like an unentertaining fight. Like I don't see.
No, it'll be entertaining.
I don't see how these two guys clash in the cage and it not be fun. Though let's get to unfortunately some really not fun topics. We have to get to. Sort of this is the last couple topics of the show. We're gonna end one on a little bit of a brighter note when it comes to legal issues, a little more funny and comical. But this first one, not so much. It was first actually reported by Jeff Sherwood of Between the Rounds Radio now, obviously the founder of ShareDot.com, who I have some work with. He came out, I think, last week and said, hey, some of you investigative journalists out there, I've been hearing stuff. Something's up with Tony Ferguson. Somebody should go check it out. And now a week later, it's now being reported that the wife of Tony Ferguson is filing a restraining order following multiple bizarre incidents. And I'm gonna read this article. I'm gonna read part of this article just to give everyone a better understanding of what this potentially is, because a lot of people, I think, jump to like domestic abuse and violence. You know, I think that's what I jumped to as well. Fu was like, oh, like it's that story that we're hearing again. I don't think that's what this is, and even in the report, it's not. That's not what this seems like to me. According to Junkie's investigation, this is Bloody Elbows reporting by Zane Simon, good journalist. According to Junkie's investigation, the court intervention comes following a string of bizarre incidents involving police visits to the Ferguson home. Starting in January of 2018, and with 3 occurring in the last month. These reportedly included Ferguson destroying items, talking about a computer chip he claimed was implanted in his leg, throwing holy water at his wife, and believing someone was inside his walls. Things seem to have come to a head last Friday when he apparently took their son from his parents' house, where his wife was visiting, and brought him back to their home. After which he changed the locks on the doors. The restraining order was against him. Restraining order against him was filed just a few days later. In multiple police reports, it appears that Ferguson's wife has claimed that she does not fear for the safety of their child, and that he had not been violent toward her or anyone else, but that his outbursts seemed to be getting worse, and he was refusing to see a doctor. And that's where we're really going to end this, is that part. This seems so much like, to me, a case of, I forget the NFL player's name, the guy that was battling CTE and eventually I think took his own life, but had similar sort of like, hey, they're watching me, there's people, like there's things in me, like super paranoid, almost like schizophrenic behavior, right? And look, I think there's a lot of different angles we can take with this, because Tony Ferguson's also a 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu guy, so he's friends with Eddie Bravo, right? So he's deep into like flat Earth conspiracies and stuff like that. I think when you add that element, that conspiracy culture with potential CTE, because again, this is really what it seems like to me. Alexander Hernandez is another guy like that. Yes, obviously. Thank you, Mario Yamasaki. This is deeply concerning, Fu. I don't know how concerned we should be from a health perspective. Like, should we no longer talk about Ferguson fighting? Like, should that not be the topic of conversation? Should it be more about, hey, this guy needs to get serious medical treatment and help? Because that's what it's screaming like to me. I want to get your thoughts on this, Fu, in this developing story.
This is very serious, because not to take it to a darker place, but when I was in Arizona, running like 11 stores out there for Sprint, like, one of the managers was dating a girl whose husband started going on these weird rants like this. He was like a really hardcore conspiracy theorist. He, had, rights to see the kid. And one day I went to the store to do a visit, and, my manager there was pretty freaked out, had a lot going on. And this guy actually killed his own kid. Started having these massive freakouts like this, like thinking, like the chips in his leg or the government's watching him. He actually had a freak out and thought the kid was a demon and ended up killing his own kid. So to me, this isn't something you play with. When people start going into these really bad episodes, like, I mean, come on, how far gone do you have to be to think that you've got microchips implanted in your leg?
Or that someone's inside your walls.
someone's inside your walls. Like, this is full on fucking crazy behavior.
And also, let's be honest
from the situation.
I agree. And let's be honest, Tony Ferguson has had a long history of being just a weird person.
Yeah.
You know, so you add in, look, this is fighting, right? This is prize fighting. We attract a lot of weird people. Look at Edmund Valerio. Again, this is not something new here. Like, this is a very reminiscent story, and it's one that I don't want to have to report any further. I agree with you that I hope the son and the mother are just taken out of the equation completely. Like, they're just not involved. They get their restraining order. They're even if the wife does not fear for the safety of her child and her.
Always better safe than sorry.
Absolutely agree.
You never know when he's gonna think the kid's the person in the wall and do something fucking crazy, man. I'm telling you, that was a hard moment for me in life, man. I was like, shit, because you know me, man. I have a 5-year-old. So when it involves kids, it's like, well, it could be my son, you know?
Oh, of course, man. Again, like prayers, thoughts, vibes, whatever you believe in out there, listeners, send it to the Ferguson family right now, because there is something deeply wrong right now, and I think that we need to stop talking about Tony Ferguson being a relevant player, because I think these alarm bells are far too loud, far too big to be ignored, especially when he is a prize fighter. And CTE is a thing that will make this not only worse, but violent. Just deeply concerning. Like, it makes my skin crawl, because, I think everyone has stories like that. Like, we know someone that had a crazy episode and something bad happened. Like, everyone knows they have that. They have that story. I don't want Ferguson's family to have that as well.
Also, if you have friends who go down these fucking YouTube just fucking rabbit holes with all this conspiracy weirdness and black helicopters,
the lizard people and all that shit, you
do the right thing. Be a good friend. Tell them they're fucking crazy.
Yes.
Give them better information. Like, that is one thing. Like, I was a big Joe Rogan fan, and like the platform for Alex Jones and like a lot of these crazy like people, it's too much. Like, I'm not saying police people in terms of what they're able to say, but when something is completely fucking wrong, the earth is not flat, guys. It's not. Like, there's tons of science.
Let me tell you this, people, right now. The lizard people aren't the Rothschilds, and they don't run the world.
Yeah.
Shocker. I know.
Don't let your friends go down that path. It is literally, it's not funny. It causes distortions in reality that are not good.
It causes harm. It causes legit harm. Whether it's mental harm, whether it's emotional harm, whether it's physical harm, it causes harm. Yes. And when you add in again our prize fighting element to it, the combat sports element, it becomes so much more dangerous, because we have instances, we have examples of guys going crazy and people get hurt.
Yes,
significantly hurt. I don't want another Edmund Valerio story. I'm very concerned here. Yep. So let's try to get away from that. Because there's nothing we can do right now. And I think right now the legal process is going to step in. I'm assuming Child Protective Services. Like, I'm assuming there are some agencies now involved here that aren't. And plus, when you are a celebrity in any sense, I think maybe the UFC steps in and tries to help. I don't know. I'm hoping that this gets resolved and no one gets hurt. But let's talk about somebody also dealing with some legal issues that is more comical, right? So last topic of the day, let's make fun of Conor McGregor, right? Can we do it? Can we have some fun now on the show?
We can have some fun.
Oh, God. And I will admit, I might be on Conor McGregor's side here, guys. I might be. Conor McGregor being sued by an alleged victim in Miami when he smashed this dude's phone and then proceeded to take the dude's phone. I will say this. I have never been the person to see celebrities and like run up and try to take a picture with them. And I've seen some pretty big celebrities in LA. Like I've seen Robert Downey Jr. in LA. I've seen him on Venice Beach. Guess what? Did not run down and try to take a picture with him. I've seen some TV level stars that I've watched their show and I'm like, oh, I want to go get a picture with them. I don't. So I fundamentally don't understand those type of people. You know, like I was never like, I remember the autograph phase right before selfies. That was a great sign. That was a great era of human history, which when we all just took autographs and not selfies. But even then, I was never the big autograph guy. Like I didn't care for autographs. I have autographed sports paraphernalia in the studio. It's largely hand-me-down to people I know. I have no personal connection with it, but it's cool. Digressing from that, if I had some random person jumping in my face trying to take pictures of me, guess what? I'm hitting his phone out of his fucking hand. And if he is a little bit mouthy, I might smash it. And guess what? Sue me for the damages. It was $1,000. I wiped my ass with that because I'm Conor McGregor. And move on. I am completely shocked that this has become such a major talking point and storyline in MMA and how many articles and think pieces have been written about this, Fu. Because it's so obvious. Like, yeah, he could have done that. Sure. And guess what? The guy can sue. It's $1,000 phone. Here's the damages. We move on. But Conor McGregor is 100% in his right to throw that man's phone to the ground and smash it, in my opinion. That is my hot take for the day. Fu, your thoughts on this scandal?
Well, look, dude, this is not the first person that's broken someone's phone or a camera or it's like I had tried to have a genuine discussion with someone on Instagram about this where it was like, said like, they said something like, oh my God, this is a huge deal. He's a piece of trash, all this. And I was like,
it really is.
Guys, like, are we really going to judge him based on walking out of a club or a hotel at 5 a.m. and having to put up with some asshole fan who thinks they're obligated to have his time because they bought a pay-per-view one time? Or
yes,
no. I said the conversation we all need to have is, can celebrities have a life outside of what they do? I mean, he does press events for UFC. He's available a lot of times. He's not an asshole to his fans. It's like he is an asshole a lot of times in life, but he's not really an asshole to his fans. Like, he gives a lot of time to his fans. So it's like, I'm with you. If I'm a celebrity, leave me the fuck alone. At some point in my life, let me have my own space and time.
Well, think about this. Let's say like, this has never happened because every time I've met somebody in the like real world that knows me and it's like, oh, you're Matt from so and let's take a picture. It's never been like somebody that's like a paparazzi like jumping in and trying to take a selfie. I think if that was to ever happen, I might push them away. Right? Like if you don't approach me in the right way, I'm not going to handle that well. And that's just random old me. Like if some stranger came up and tried taking a picture with me without saying anything and without like approaching the proper way. And again, it's 5 a.m. I've stepped out of the club. I'm pissed drunk. I don't want that. I'm going to smash a phone. And guess what? It's not the end of the world, guys. It's something that the guy can absolutely sue. Go to a small claims court and get the damages to the phone. And it's the end of the story, and we move on. But I am shocked about the amount of think pieces that have been written about this. It is
people
tremendous.
just see McGregor's name and they're like, I'm gonna put this out there because it's gonna get so much buzz. And I took the stance with our Instagram that I took when Tank had this stuff going on. It's like, I'm not going to spread this because I don't want to get any part of.
Oh my God, Fu.
Because
are you
like this, right?
Fu, you're breaking up.
What's going on here?
You're breaking up. Oh, you're back. You're back. You're here.
Okay.
Your face was frozen, and
nice.
I could hear you periodically, but your face was frozen, so that was a little bit concerning.
I just said I took the same stance with our Instagram that I took with Davis, like Gervonta Davis. I don't want to get hits from talking about things that I have really no. I mean, I'm not a celebrity.
We're not. Hold on. I know how to describe it for you, Fu. Let me jump in there. Tag team. We're not fucking TMZ. Right? We're not the Shade Room. You know, like we're not gossipism. Fu. I would argue that we're not really a gossip channel.
No, we're not trying to just build up a fan base or, you know, or get bullshit views because we're, you know, trying to throw McGregor's name in something for smashing a phone or Tank's name in something for some alleged thing that hasn't even been proven, right? I
that's right. That was a phone thing too, wasn't it?
I think so, but I just don't believe in making, you know, throwing all that shit out there. It's just bad, you know? Well, don't play into it.
I'm joking. But anyways, yeah, McGregor, you keep going. Smash those phones, man. Do you. Be king. I don't care. I fundamentally don't care. That's why I kept this topic for the very last topic of the show. For you fucking degenerate listeners that listen to the whole show. Shout out to you guys. But that's why. Because I didn't want to make this the headline and be like, Conor McGregor, legal issues, and be clickbaity. I don't care about that. But anyways, Fu, it looks like we have no callers today. It looks like PD is content with just listening, or he's asleep. So let's say
passed out on us.
And plus, I do want to do a trending now, but man, it's late, and I know it's like 10 p.m. over there, and you're working tomorrow.
We could probably knock that out tomorrow if we're not going to do a live fight chat for Farmer or something.
Ooh, I like that idea.
Yeah,
that's what we're gonna do. Cause I definitely want to give my Captain Marvel review. I have yet to do that. Think about that, Phil. You have to go see that. That's what you need to do.
I do need to see that.
You do need to go see it. You need to like leave work early tomorrow and go see Captain Marvel with Harrison. Just drag him, okay? And you know, if he wants to leave the theater early, say no, because kids always do that. I fucking hate taking kids to the movie theater. That's a boxing banter topic we're gonna get into on later shows. Like taking kids to the movie theater is the worst experience ever.
Yeah.
It is far worse than taking them to like nice restaurants. Like taking a kid to the movie theater is a waste of money every single time. But anyways, digressing. Final thoughts. Jon Jones, phenom, great. I mean, he's gonna do whatever he wants. Him dominating Anthony Smith, not a shock. Move to heavyweight. I want to see that. Kamaru Usman, potentially on his way to a dominant title reign, because I can see him beating everyone in this division right now. And I can't wait to see what the Nigerian Nightmare can do. Ben Askren is being Ben Askren, man. Great UFC debut. Cannot wait to see what's next for him. Junior Santos on UFC Wichita looked fine. Sloppy fight. Not much to say about it, but don't mind a Junior Santos fight against a maybe Jon Jones or Francis Ngannou or somebody like that. I love those matchups for JDS. Or maybe a JDS Steve Miocic trilogy fight. Both of those fights were classics. Like, I wouldn't mind that. What else do we have? Obviously, ton of fight announcements. Obviously, UFC London this weekend. Till versus Masvidal. Should be a fun fight. And obviously, Edwards versus Gunnar Nelson as well as the co-main. Should be even better fight, in my opinion. And like I said, ton of fight announcements. Ton of news to get to. Prayers for the Ferguson family. And hopefully, things get resolved there. If I'm me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms. Have a great night. See y'all tomorrow. Fu?
Yep, Fugatti_MCR on all platforms. Thanks for being here, guys. We love to talk to the UFC stuff. I really hope we can grow our listener base with this so Matt and I can invest a little more time in what I think is a really great sport. Obviously coming around on it, but yeah, man, thanks for being here. And it was a fun show.
Peace.
That's fucking illegal.
Just send me location.
Come on, guys. It's normal. Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody. Who the fuck is that guy?
Hey, pussy, are you still there?